It's personal between me and you, and I'm going to do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, I wanted to talk about George Kambosos Jr. because I picked George to win this fight. I'm gonna raise my hand, own up to it. I picked George to win this fight by a split decision, right? Because I thought the fight was gonna be close enough to where if they were in Australia, he would get the nod, right? And this is a credit to Devin. Devin is so good that Devin didn't even leave it close enough for there to be controversy. So much respect to him. He deserves all of his flowers and then some, okay? But we gotta talk about George because the reality of the matter is he wrote a lot of checks during the build-up with his mouth that his ass did not cash on the night. And look, I'm not gonna say negative things about George. I'm not gonna behoove or, you know, I'm not gonna like talk down on him because he lost the fight. There's nothing wrong with losing a fight. There's nothing wrong with losing to a better man. There's nothing wrong with performing well and coming up a little bit short. That's okay. The best fighters in boxing have lost. But it's not so much how you lose. It's not so much that if you lose, it's how you lose. The performance. You know, I've always said it, you know, when it comes to even like pound for pound, when I was trying to do pound for pound, the thing that I always look for in fighters on a fight-by-fight basis is not so much the results. I mean, results matter as far as public perception for most people, but I'm more about the performance when it comes to boxing because, you know, you can perform well for 10 fights and win 8 of them and only lose 2 of them. You know, it's possible. It's possible to be a consistent performer and still lose. Okay, George Kambosos Jr. had a massive drop-off in performance, and that's really where I have a big problem with him, because had he been humble the whole fight week and not talked as much shit as he did, I would have let it slide. You know, if George didn't miss weight, which to me was the most damning thing of them all, I wouldn't have anything bad to say about him. But George talked all this shit. He talked about how he would throw Devin out the ring if Devin held him. Devin held him a million times, never tried to get physical with him more than once, okay? Because he was so just confused with that jab of Devin Haney. We didn't see George Kambosos Jr. let his freaking hands go when he actually closed the gap. A lot of people will say, well, he couldn't let his hands go because Devin was tying him up. Well, okay, well, that's where physical strength comes into play. That's where the conditioning and strength you do in the gym, that's where you got to start using it, in them trenches, in that kitchen. And I just saw a reluctancy to pull the trigger, a reluctancy to really be the best George Kambosos that would have given him the best chance to win this fight. Not saying it would have made a difference, but I do feel some type of way about George's lack of performance, because I thought he was better than that. I thought he was better than he actually performed, you know, on the night. But, you know, look, I got to be honest. I was wrong. I drank the Kool-Aid a little bit. And I got to be honest about my gut feelings I had back in 2021 when I had that conversation with George Kambosos Jr. So for those of you who don't know, I remember when George was in Las Vegas the week after he beat Tio for the Jojo Diaz-Devin Haney fight. He was in the media room at the MGM Grand. I was talking with him and his dad a little bit. They're great people. I like them. But I remember I asked George, because I was very excited about, because that was really my first time meeting him, even though he trained in South Florida. We just never crossed paths. So that was my first time really meeting George. Was that day, all right? So I was asking him, you know, when are you gonna come back to South Florida? Because I would like to try to come down to the gym and interview you, whatever. And he told me, these were his words: "I'm not coming back to South Florida. I'm not training there no more. I'm training in Australia." And then he went ahead and he built his own gym. And that, to me, like in my mind, from my perspective, that was really the first sign that George was going to change his preparation. He was going to start changing and tweaking the things that got him to where he was at that moment in time, right? All in the name of comfort and convenience. Because, mind you, Australia is a long way away from Miami, all right? The South Florida area, you know? It's a long way away. So I understand all the reasons why he would build a gym, like for his wife and his kids, to be closer to them and things like that. But like, this is the fight game. This is world championship boxing. This demands everything from you. And when you go from being the hunted, right? Because that's what George was. George was the hunted. He was underdog. Nobody really expected anything of George when he fought Tio. There was no expectation for him to do well, let alone win the fight. Okay. People thought Tio was going to fucking spark him out of there in 4 to 6 rounds, okay? When he won that fight, like many fighters, when they're the underdogs, like whether it be Buster Douglas when he beat Mike Tyson, or whether it be Josh Taylor after he became undisputed, okay? When you go from being the hunter to the hunted, and you have that big ass target on your back to where every guy in the top 10 has your name circled on Ring Magazine rankings, and they got everything you got going on. They got the eyes on you, every little move you make, okay? That's when you really gotta perform. That's when you really get to see separate the boys from the men, you know? Because anybody, listen, any fighter can win a fight as the underdog. There's been fighters who weren't even that good to begin with, beat guys that were better than them as the underdog. But once they got put in that position to where there was expectations thrusted upon them, and they were expected to do more than they were previously, they couldn't handle the pressure. They couldn't handle the responsibility of being looked at as a much better fighter than they were perceived to be. In some cases, a champion. Okay, and I think George Kambosos Jr. has suffered from Josh Taylor syndrome. He can't. The reality is, okay, I don't care what anybody's gonna say. His team can say whatever they want to say. They can say we got a rematch clause. They can say we know how to beat Devin. We just need to make adjustments. They can say whatever they want to say. But the reality is, in his first fight in boxing, where there was legitimate expectations for him to win a fight, were thrusted upon him. You know, people weren't just watching to see if he was good. People weren't just watching to find out who he was. They knew who he was. They knew he wanted to fight. They knew that he had a talent to belong on that level. Okay, the first fight he had where there was any legitimate expectations thrusted upon him, George Kambosos Jr. won no more than 2 rounds. Okay, he was no better than Canelo Alvarez was against Bivol. All right, same level, honestly. And that's really damning. And I really don't think he deserves no damn rematch. I don't want to see that shit again. And I think I speak for a lot of boxing fans that say that we don't want to fucking see George Kambosos Jr. versus Devin Haney. We don't want to see it. I'm going to go on record right now. I'm going to say it like this. If they fight again, I'm not covering the fight. There will be no videos here on True School Sports of Devin Haney versus George Kambosos Jr. because I absolutely refuse to watch George Kambosos Jr. go in that ring again and piss the bed. Because that's what he did in this fight. Now, can George Kambosos Jr. still have a great career? Yes. Is George Kambosos Jr. still a quality lightweight? You bet your damn ass he is, because he had the progression of a legitimate champion. You know, beat Mickey Bay, former world champion. Beat Lee Selby, former world champion. Beat Teofimo Lopez, legitimate top 10 pound for pound fighter. You know, great talent. Beat him. So you don't take those things from George. Nobody can ever take the hard road that he had in the dark coming from the local show to get to where he was at in his career. But my gripe with him is that when there was legitimate expectations for him to really perform, he didn't even put up a fight. He didn't even get out of neutral gear. There was no part in that Devin Haney fight where you watch George Kambosos fight Devin and you say, you know what? George is going to make this a competitive fight. He's going to win. There was almost no moment to that. So, you know, I think George has a lot of questions to be answered. I think he needs to really do some soul searching because this fight wasn't it. And truthfully, I'm gonna end the video on this note. We know the previous week Rolly lost to Tank, and now this week George has lost to Devin. I want to see George versus Rolly. How about that? Let's make the losers of the last 2 big fights at lightweight fight each other. The 2 losers, the 2 guys that ran the mouths and talked the most. Let's make them fight each other, okay? And then let's see. Let's use that fight as a rebuilding fight. The winner can go into a fight with another contender, and if they win that fight, they can go fight another big fight. How about that? I like that. But George Kambosos Jr., you know, he if he would have won this fight, he would have been a guy that would have been a legitimate. I mean, he made 8 figures this fight, but he's not going to be an 8-figure fighter his next fight. He would have been a legitimate 8-figure fighter moving forward. He would have been looked at to be one of the stars of the sport because he has that gift of gab. He has that ability to sell himself. He has that ability to engage people, whether they love him or hate him, in interviews. He has it. But what he didn't have on the night, what he didn't have in his heart of hearts, and I hate to say it like that because he got in that ring, I respect him, but he didn't have that class about him to compete. Not win. I'm not talking about winning. We're talking about something at a lower level than winning. We're talking about just competing, okay? And he pissed the bed when people had legitimate expectations of him and actually believed in him. He did a great job of turning people like myself and many others into believers in him because he talks a great game. But when push came to shove, he pissed the bed. And that's what it is. So I'm going to leave it at that. Nothing more to say. Take care. Thank you for watching another video on True School Sports, the home of boxing. If you made it this far, do me a favor and do yourself a damn favor. Hit that subscribe button and surely you will not be disappointed. True School Sports bringing you the latest and greatest, the untouchable, boxing content, interviews, news videos, breakdowns, live fight reaction extravaganza. We've got a great community of people here, boxing fans all over the world, from America to the UK to Australia and on and on and on. So join the empire today. Hit that subscribe button. Take care and God.